Today, we're putting some TikTok food trends to the test with a chef and a normal home cook. Ebbers, you have a text.
A text? Welcome to millennials using apps that scare them.
Straight off the bat, I recognise this person.
So a saw, you
Poppy,
can cook roast
the
potatoes
potato
with
queen.
clotted cream, and I have to give it a go.
Did you just say clotted cream?
You get on these is phenomenal. Chopping them into their kind of quarters, depending on the size. You get them into cold, heavily salted water. And
She's
you can
parboiling
see they're
it.
White. That's what you want around the edge.
Lots of tips and
whilst they're
tricks.
Still hot, get them back into the pan, and then secret ingredient:
No.
clotted cream, and it's about half a tub. And give them a mix.
Cooking roast potatoes with clotted cream.
So instead of butter or instead of oil to cook your roast potatoes in, she's using clotted cream.
Obviously, butter is sort of 99%, maybe a few impurities and some salt, whatever. Oil is 100% fat. So where does clotted cream sit on that scale? Because it's definitely above double cream at 40%, or heavy whipping cream at similar.
Clotted cream has a minimum butter fat content of 55%.
Okay, so we're up.
So it's half as good as butter, is what I'm hearing.
Ooh!
I'm just saying, right?
I'm hearing it's better than whipping cream.
So we know that loads of different potato dishes already have cream in them. Dauphinoise,
Yep.
mashed potatoes. But in my experience, all of those make the potatoes wet and soft, not crispy and crunchy, which is what you want from the outside of a roast potato.
I mean, I'm confused by it.
I can't wait.
Because you either want to make potatoes wet and creamy or crispy. And if you want to make them crispy, use fat. Don't go at 55% fat, because you've got to get rid of 45% liquid. Or you want them wet, in which case, go with double cream.
But the reason that we're investigating these trends is because there is a chance that we could have wet and crispy potatoes.
Shall we give it a go?
Sure.
So, here we have some parboiled roast potatoes.
Still warm.
Much like Poppy did, fluff in the outside, dried in a colander, probably with a tea towel over or something to absorb some of that moisture, and then she said about half a tub, but there we go, let's go for a few blobs. And into those warm potatoes, they'll start to ooze and melt. I don't get it.
I think I only ever use clotted cream on scones.
100%, and I love it. And what I love about it is you've got that sort of crumbly top, almost like a skin, that once you dig into, you get a really thick, sort of drizzly consistency. And I think it has an amazing texture because it spreads.
Yep.
It's not too loose, but it is so thick. It's amazing. I love clotted cream ice cream for, again, the sort of velvety texture that you get. And I think it also is worth bearing in mind that in the video that we're watching, Poppy is also testing the method. This isn't her recipe. She is also testing to pass judgment. And so I guess logically, we're hoping that the fat in the clotted cream gives the crisp.
Well,
even though, like you said, there's still quite a
eventually.
lot of additional liquid to be burnt off.
Yeah, you've got to get rid of the additional liquid first. So all that dryness of potato that you've steamed off, you've now added in back.
To the outside.
Smells
I still
indulgent.
question why you wouldn't just use butter.
Well, supposedly the slight sweetness of clotted cream actually helps with some of the caramelisation and adds a bit more of a depth to the flavour of the outside of the potatoes.
Interesting.
So clotted cream has a slightly tangy, nutty undertone from the slow heating process during its making, and it's that depth that complements the savoury, earthy flavour of roast potatoes. We will come back to those potatoes when they're cooked. So our roast potatoes have been in the oven for just under an hour. They're looking good.
They smell so weird.
They're incredible. And they've got a good crunch.
There's a strong, pungent smell of clotted cream coming through the air, which I'm not familiar smelling whilst looking at a tray of roast potatoes.
In our wonderful science, I regret not taking half of those potatoes and just doing them in butter alongside for the same, because my gut is they were deliciously fluffy potatoes and are that long, they're going to end up that crispy. Will the flavour be any different? I think that's the key. Cheers.
Really well seasoned.
That is a lovely, crispy, fluffy roast potato. And if you shut your eyes, it has the flavour of the crispy bits on the outside of a potato dauphinoise, the bits that crisp up around the edges. It does have that creamy, buttery fatness.
Yeah.
But you could achieve the same with cultured butter and save yourself 20 minutes in the oven. I don't think it's any better, but more time and effort and more expense. Clotted cream is more expensive than just butter or oil, and I don't think it's any better for it.
There was a fear that you wouldn't be able to taste the difference. You can definitely taste a difference. It adds a different profile, which is interesting. I'm not sure I'd choose it over and above a regular roast potato recipe, but
I agree,
interesting.
except if you've had an afternoon tea and you've got some clotted cream left, it's a good use of the other half
It's
a
cool.
tub.
And there are so many different types of fat that we add to potatoes to make roast potatoes, whether it's goose fat, which is
for
traditional at
frying,
Christmas, beef dripping is unbelievable, oil, butter. What would you say is your favourite?
Oh, roast potato,
Yes,
or just
roast
fried
potato.
potato. Because I would say different fats for different circumstances. The time ages ago we used mustard oil in Indian cooking to get almost a different take on like a Bombay potato. It was unbelievable. But that's not necessarily a classic roast potato. I think here you can't go wrong with butter.
come on, let's go full circle, chuck that over. This cannot be good, but again,
I feel
in
like
the
now we're
spirit of
going
open-mindedness.
back to almost kind of your creamy potato dishes, your tartiflettes and your dauphinoise. I'm just not sure they're adding much to a roast potato.
I have to say, adding clotted cream in the process and then on the process at the end is too much.
Well, boys, the clotted cream roast potatoes. Is it a trend we're following fast or just scrolling past?
If you're caught short, it'll do the job, but I think I'm scrolling past.
Yeah, I'm glad we tried it. There is a difference, but I'm scrolling past.
Let's move on to number 2.
Here we go again.
No, Mike, you have a message.
He loves to mix
So we
things
can
up.
divide up the
Oh no, the
Pixel iPhone options.
thumbnail of this one looks interesting.
Now this I'm on board with. This makes sense to me.
It looks like you need to have your technique down, but wow.
But there's nothing worse than noodles that are so hot you burn yourself. So actually that is just cooling it through the air before it makes its way to your mouth.
I also like that the caption is calling this the finest technological innovation to eat noodles.
I think sometimes the best innovations are the simplest and most obvious.
Yeah.
So this one may not be so much of a trend and more of just something that went completely viral because of how ridiculous it looks. But the reason that I wanted to test this is because I think it could actually be really helpful in A, not having your noodles and your broth too hot, and B, making sure that the dripping of the sauce from the
back into
noodles
the bowl.
goes back into the bowl.
Yep. I love the internet.
Yep.
Boys, we have 2 broths. We have 2 coat hangers.
Excellent.
This
we give this a
is
go?
our job.
So boys, I've given you a coat hanger each.
Oh, I've overstretched.
We're in.
Oh my gosh, that is so wedged.
So boys, you have a coat hanger each. You have a bowl full of some incredible noodles, chicken, beef, potatoes. It's a gorgeous dish. And then we've got you a broth to go with it as well. Pour over the broth, lift with the chopsticks, hook around the hanger. Let's see if this works.
I'm all for this. I think the first hook is going to be challenging. Because not only do we have the world's longest chopsticks, but my peripheral can't see where I need to hook it. If I get this in my hair...
I can't see a
oh, hang
thing.
on, no, it's couldn't go that way.
Well, should we do each other's? That might be easier, Embers.
So it does feel like there's a delicate balance between having the hanger tight enough, but not so tight that it gives you a headache.
What I would say is, by the time you've got the correct positioning and tightness of the coat hanger on the head, the dish is cold.
And I would also say, this particular noodle dish... I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no. We did it for your viewing pleasure. I'm going to go with no. Because you can't pull against that.
I mean, the good thing is you look great doing it.
Okay,
So now you might want to use your chopsticks on the long end.
I've committed
I think
now,
to help raise it. And there you go, get the flow, get the flow.
There must be a technique to this.
No, there isn't a technique to this. I reckon he had a perfect bowl of pasta and he got 1 out of 6 noodles in a bowl.
Mike's getting it to work.
No, he's not. I'm eating quicker without doing it.
But I'm having more fun.
No. There's some things I'm prepared to do, but that's just ridiculous. How is that helping? I value what he did with the pink hanger. Like, he nailed it. But you've just ruined a shirt. The beauty about noodles like this is they're all wonderfully irregular. So there's some that have got really chunky, thick, chewy bits, and some that are a lot thinner. You don't want them perfectly regular, but you need them perfectly regular to, function in the physics of...
So do you think maybe something like linguine or tagliatelle might produce So this might not be more of a Chinese thing, but more of an Italian thing?
What's the longest linguine or spaghetti you've ever seen? Like 30 centimetres, right?
Yeah.
I love the internet, and I like that someone had a theoretical solution to an issue and tried it and filmed themselves doing it. And I'm glad that we then saw that video and tried it and did it for ourselves, because it was a lot of fun, but it doesn't work.
Well, boys, the coat hanger noodles.
No, not even going to validate that with an answer.
Is this a trend you're going to be following fast, or are you just going to scroll past?
I'm following fast because we need some joy, and it brought a lot of joy. It doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And we all knew it wasn't going to work. But didn't it just give us a little sparkle of happiness?
And didn't it taste amazing?
Numero tres.
What's that?
I've seen this.
So this is like candy floss.
Steaming cup of something that melts the cloud above and drips the sweetness into your hot beverage.
So, boys, this is Sweet Little Rain coffee. And it was started by a coffee chain called Mellower Coffee, who operate out of Shanghai, but also incredibly popular in Singapore. This has been around for quite a long time, but has recently just absolutely nailed it on TikTok and Instagram.
Understandably.
Essentially, you are creating a cloud of candy floss that then sits above a cup of coffee. And as the steam rises up from the coffee, it starts to melt the sugar drips down, looks like rain, goes into the coffee, sweetens your coffee for you.
The consumption of tea or coffee is something we probably do quite ritually 2 or 3 times a day. But it's always very bog standard. Now, some people craft their perfect coffee or tea and take a lot of care, but it's never theatrical. And that's what this is doing. It's theatre more than ritual.
This reminds me of the type of thing that you'd see at like an afternoon tea, where they play around with sort of the delivery.
Like a Willy Wonka style.
You see all of these sort of grandiose sort of ways of doing something quite simple, and I think this is a perfect place for that.
Shall we give it a go?
Yeah.
So what we've got is a little stand and a bamboo stick, so you can put some of your candy floss on the stick. Now, we have tested this. You don't want to scrunch the candy floss on. You need it kind of, the strands coming off, because they're the bits that are going to melt first.
Gotcha.
The water also needs to be boiling hot because you need as much steam as possible. So what I think we'll do is we're going to do it with instant coffee, which I don't think is how Mellow would do
We
it.
slagged you off.
I
but
know.
You've actually thought of this.
I want it to work. I
The
want it to work.
apparatus is good.
Fair
So
play.
we'll warm the cups up as well. So we'll rinse them before we, with hot water before we put the coffee in, do it properly. And I'm really hoping we can make some little rain.
You do the floss.
One, whoop, there.
Okay.
One there.
So I'm going to go as far as preheating the cups, so we lose absolutely nothing in this exercise. There's one, Mike.
Here we go. Come on. You can see.
Well,
it
now
is
imagine,
starting to melt.
presumably, it has to sit at the table while you chat. I mean, coffee is not something to rush.
Oh.
And I imagine if you're at a cafe,
We've got to have a conversation.
we've got to have a conversation.
What do we talk about?
The weather?
Cloudy.
Cloudy with signs of sugar.
Is it just sugar?
Yeah.
Spun sugar?
And this one isn't flavoured, which again, I think you could be quite creative. Now imagine having orange essences or citrus going through it. We know citrus and coffee work really nicely, but you can actually start to drip really interesting things, and then the room might start to smell. Oh, you got a drip there?
I got one drip and I've got another one pending. This is going to make all the difference to the flavour. Come on.
I mean, the reality is you need plenty of time to take your Instagram and TikTok content.
Yep.
Because, I mean, did it even happen if it doesn't end up on social media? I'll be honest, the cafe in Shanghai have nailed it. Because presumably in that environment, every customer gets success. Otherwise, you wouldn't be selling it. And yet,
So close.
we kind of haven't.
I wonder whether it's actually the consistency of the candy floss that we've got. Maybe if I were to do this again, I'd sort of pull out strands. And actually have
make
them
it
dangling
lighter,
down and make it
fluffier.
lighter. Okay, take 2, wispier cloud. Here we go. And a second brew. Oh, that's really wispy, but this is good, look.
Is it working now?
Yeah, stuff's dripping.
It's supposed to be slow and majestic. I don't think it's supposed to be gushing.
No, I think you're looking
But
for
this is underwhelming.
a slight drizzle.
When I watched the video, my fear was it just makes everything sticky. Not just the rim, which maybe tastes as you sit for it, but the handle, the play, everything. No fear of that, because nothing's dripping.
That's what people in the comments are saying. They're kind of really split between, wow, doesn't this look incredible? What a great idea. And then you get the stiff necks
Is
going.
it even going to go in the cup? Yes. Drip, drip. We've got 2 drips. Big bit for Ebbers. Have some of that.
At least we've made it work, so you don't have to. The place that has made this famous has mastered it, and I don't want to be doing this at home. I can't even be bothered to boil a kettle sometimes.
Maybe they're making fresh candy floss. This is a candy floss bucket we brought with a shelf life of a year. It's not going to melt the same way that freshly made candy floss would.
If the apocalypse happens tomorrow, this will survive.
We're fine.
Is this one of those trends that people just want to watch and go, isn't that cool, and then move on with their lives? Or, because some of them you watch and you go, I'd love to try that, and you can start to imagine a scenario, like, I have people round, we'll do like a little afternoon tea, I'll bring out these, they'll be fantastic. You bring it to the table and it falls flat.
You look like an idiot.
We kind of have sort of mitigated against that ever happening, because it's actually a lot trickier.
Well, boys, the sweet little rain coffee, is this a trend you're going to be following fast, or are you just going to scroll past?
You don't need to follow, because you've seen it once, job done. Scrolling past, I'm afraid. But fun.
I'm following fast, just like the last one. Fun to watch, not to try.
Well, boys, I've got one more if you've got room.
Always got room. On my feed. What do we have here? Why are you sending me this on TikTok? I don't have it.
It's a TikTok food trends video.
This is what
do
I'm
have
calling a
TikTok.
jeweled radish butter terrine. Okay, so I made a radish butter terrine a couple weeks ago for a wedding that I catered, and I got the idea from Pinterest about 3 days before the wedding, so it all kind of came together pretty fast. And since that initial terrine, like, I've just had radish butter on the brain. I've been thinking about it. So a couple
Radish
people
butter.
suggested
Some
slicing the
grated
radishes
radish
thin on a mandolin
in
as opposed to
softened
putting
butter.
in the whole wedges. But then that idea got me thinking that it'd be fun to shred the radish on a box grater and
Double
mix in
rad.
those pieces in a
Chunky
kind of, like,
and grated.
sprinkle-like effect. So that was the difference for this one. I hate to say it, but practice really does make perfect.
I like it.
So this is a jeweled radish butter terrine.
Do we think radish was selected for the colour only or flavour?
I would say, certainly for some months of the year, spring and summer, when butter is at its best because of lush green grass and radishes are popping up, they grow really quickly, and a fresh radish out the ground, washed, still with some of the green leaves in whipped salted butter, is one of the best
That is
food
actually
pairings
really
on
true.
the planet.
We had
We've
that
done that.
in
of course we
France.
have.
Yeah, we had it in
Yeah.
France, didn't we?
It's so good that I absolutely see how and why this is working.
So this is the creation of an LA-based private chef called Terrine. As she said, she did it for a wedding, and it was so popular that she turned it into a TikTok, and it's gone massively viral over the last few weeks and months. What she says is that the rich butter and that kind of fatty flavour that you get from the butter is perfectly matched with the radish and the
Peppery.
You get a bit of peppery spice from a radish, don't
and
you?
a freshness, a crunch, and because a radish should be, I think, ice cold when you eat it, in order to cut the terrine, it's going to be in cold butter, so you get the best of both worlds.
Would you like to make one ourselves?
Yeah, really would.
I like this idea already.
So top and tail and then...
Top, tail, and half. I'll crack on with this. Can you pass the salt, Jake?
So Sarah's version dusted in orange zest at the end, or lemon zest?
It looked like, lemon or orange, one of
That's
the two.
a nice touch.
Have you ever heard of butter terrine before? I mean, we've had compound butters are obviously nothing new, and it's about adding flavour into a butter.
Well, is terrine not, at this point, just the shape?
Yeah.
There's no reason why that's not absolutely a thing. What's interesting, there's quite a lot of water in a radish. So as we mix this in, she mentioned about air pockets and practice makes perfect. I think there's a little bit of work to consider making sure you don't get air pockets, it's nice and even so that every slice is usable and good.
Worth pointing out as well, Sarah had some beautiful watermelon radishes, which look absolutely stunning. We couldn't get our hands on them, so we have just got a selection of more standard radishes, different colours.
And I think you could absolutely also fleck it at this point, like a compound butter, with some herbs from the garden that's seasonal at the same time. So you could do all sorts in this. Smush it down to get rid of any air pockets, seasoned butter, loads of radish.
Now, Ebbers, one of the conversations I had with Kush when we were prepping this was butter lasts for quite a long time.
Yep.
Radish that has been grated up and put into the butter, is that not going to go off quicker than the butter will?
Yeah, I think this is for an occasion, like the content creators mentioned, for like a wedding party when you know what the date is. I do agree that it might go a bit funky over time because of the water content in there.
So for an event where you know this is going to get used up in one serving,
Yeah.
it's ideal.
Nice.
How long do we set that up for? Till it's solid.
So it looks like that.
Here's one Kush made earlier. Fingers crossed you did it in a similar row to how he did it, and it will look similar when you cut into it. Bit of a blowtorch.
Done it just so you can see a softened edge.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now, obviously, you are now only limited by the shape of your moulds and/or terrines. So it could also be a big centerpiece of like almost a jelly mould, but that kind of in the center with loads of Terrine share bread around it. And hopefully, we cut through, you should get some cross section of radish.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
What I love about this as well is the versatility of the flavours, the colours, the different patterns that you could make through the middle of it. We've gone for like gala pie style.
Yep.
Sarah did lots of lovely shapes and that kind of thing as well, which is amazing.
Chunky. That's good, isn't it?
That is a great ratio of butter to bread.
To bread ratio
Goodness
there.
me. Cheers.
Yeah, that is
How is that?
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good. Very tasty. Crunchy, there's a texture to it.
Yeah, it's actually perfect.
It is, for the first time, a novel twist on something that already exists, I think is worth doing. I think that's a really lovely way to do a sharing, community-led bread and butter course.
It's putting two things together that may seem unusual, but that actually give a genuinely fantastic result. But then on top of it, and probably why it's become a trend, is it's also flecks of colour, presentation, looks wow, and therefore it's like your double threat.
And I actually think to make it into a triple threat, it's also really easy to do.
Yeah, true.
And I do think radish is the classic combo, but there's so many other things you could put through that. Raw beetroot, various different colours. You could do it with flecks of herbs. You could do any compound butter combo, but as a terrine. However, I think the radish classic works.
And does it need the grated element into it as well?
I think you get more of the peppery flavour because it's been grated.
And the texture, because
So
you're
there's more
constantly
of it.
biting through bits.
Yeah, and then when you're actually biting through the solid bits, that's where the texture comes in.
The jewelled butter radish terrine. Is this a trend we're going to be following fast or just scrolling past?
This is great. I'm following fast.
I'm following fast and going to try this. So, brilliant.
Amazing. Over to you in the comments. Let us know which one of those trends are you going to be following fast or just scrolling past, and what trends should we be putting to the test next?